A very good afternoon to everyone. On the behalf of Voice of Healthcare and Zydus Cadila, I welcome all the speakers and the attendees for our second episode of this webinar series that is Detect to Protect, Staying Ahead of the Curve, that is powered by Zydus Cadila. This specific initiative is here to mark the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is October 2021. I'll just now take an opportunity to welcome and introduce our speakers for this panel. First up is Dr. Pankaj M. Shah. Sir is the medical oncologist at Zydus Hospitals, Ahmedabad. He's also the vice president at Gujarat Cancer Society and a trustee at Sadvichar Parivar, Ahmedabad. Dr. Shah is just yet to join us in a couple of minutes. Then up we have Mr. Sameer Desai. He is the president and head BU Biologics at Cadila Healthcare Limited. Welcome, Mr. Desai. Pleasure to have you. Then up we have Dr. Sanjeev Kumar. Sir is the President, Biologics, Research and Manufacturing at Zydus Cadila, Ahmedabad. Welcome, Dr. Kumar. Then up we have Miss Neerja Malik. Ma'am is the Global Cancer Ambassador. She is a cancer counselor, inspirational speaker, and a breast cancer conqueror. It's a very pleasure to have you, ma'am. Then up we have Professor Dr. Anita Ramesh. Ma'am is Senior Consultant Medical Oncology and Pediatric Oncology at Apollo Specialty Hospitals, Chennai. Welcome, Dr. Anita. We also have Dr. Jyoti Vadhva. Ma'am is the Director, Head, Neck and Thoracic Oncology, Medical and Hemato-Oncology at Cancer Institute of Medanta, the Medicity at Gurgaon. Welcome, ma'am. Then up we have Dr. Prableen Kaur. She is an MBBS MS and has a fellowship in reproductive medicine. She is also a consultant at Fortis Ridge IVF, Shalimar Bagh. While sharing her expert views, Dr. Prableen Kaur will also be moderating this panel. So without any further ado, I'll just hand it over to Dr. Prableen to start with our discussion for today. Dr. Prableen, over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Voice of Healthcare, for organizing this session. As we all know that October is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this is a very good platform, a good opportunity for us to learn more about breast cancer. As we know, it's the most common female cancer worldwide, and it contributes to more than 25% of all the female cancers. And the global burden of this disease is on a rise. As per the statistics by WHO, 1.3 million new cases are detected every year, and we have more than 4 lakh deaths per year. Proportion of the cases of breast cancer from developing countries like India is also on a rise. So now I would like to start the session with discussion with Dr. Pankaj Shah, sir. Sir, I would like to ask you about the breast cancer incidence in India and what is the reason for increased incidence in the developing country like ours, and is there any difference between the rural and the urban population? Over to you, sir.
Dr. Prableen, Dr. Prableen, join us. Can you please move forward to the other question?
All right. So I would like to ask Professor Dr. Anita Ramesh, ma'am. Ma'am, what are the risk factors associated with the breast cancer?
Yes,
Yes,
very
afternoon
to everybody. Yeah, so yes, regarding risk factors, some of the very known risk factors which are in breast cancer is one is age, whether you are less than 35 years or you're more than 35 years of age, and then family history, though it contributes only 5 to 10% of the risk factors. Next is obesity, smoking, alcohol, late marriages, no childbirth, lack of breastfeeding, westernized lifestyle all contribute to the development of the increasing the risk to the breast cancer. Even smoking and alcohol indirectly are related. So that says that yes, we have gone a far way in westernizing ourselves, and that's what where we are. And not only breast cancer, the risks of other cancer increases along with this, and yes, we go for late late marriages, we don't have childbirth, or we have a late childbirth, lack of breastfeeding because we are quite busy, and all this contributes. And there's also a small contribution from the hormone replacement therapy, but now the replacement hormones having a less of estrogen, so that risk is less. Yes, hereditary breast cancer is 5% still there, that has not risen. So that's what I feel, how what are the risks of breast cancer in for any woman.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now let's move on. Now my next question is for Dr. Jyoti Vadva. Ma'am, is ma'am in?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
I heard.
Yeah, I heard. Yes, yes. So let's know about the signs and symptoms of breast cancer, ma'am.
Yes. So, hello
Yes. So,
everyone.
hello
It's
everyone.
very
It's very
important to
important
be aware
to be aware.
of the ways in which breast cancer could present. So, the most common symptom of breast cancer is a lump in the breast or in the armpit. The other symptoms could be skin changes, especially, say, orange peel like appearance, dimpling of the skin, pulled in nipple, unusual discharge from the nipple, or an overall change in the breast size or shape. So, one needs to be aware of these presentations of breast cancer. Also, when it's stage 4, which means that it has spread to other body parts, the symptoms and the presentation will depend on the body part affected. So, say if it has spread to the bones, the patient will have bone pains. If it has spread to the liver, patient could have jaundice. If it spreads to brain, the patient could present with headaches or difficulty in walking, imbalance during walking, or fits. And overall, when it's advanced breast cancer, the patient can have loss of appetite and weight loss. So one needs to be really aware of all these clinical presentations, which are possibly a warning sign of breast cancer.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. So Dr. Pankaj Shah has joined in. So let's move on to sir. Sir, I would like to ask you about the incidence of breast cancer in India, and what is the reason behind the increase in incidence in a developing country like ours? And do you find any difference between the rural and the urban population? Over to you, sir.
Cancer in the women, they
Cancer
are
in the
due to
women,
breast cancer.
they are due to
And
breast cancer.
In India, we have got 1.78 lakhs of women with a breast cancer. And out of that, 58,000 are below the age of 40. So this disease is coming up, and more people, more and more women are detected because of the availability of the better infrastructure in the country. Now we have got lots of medical colleges, lots of diagnostic center, and the people are aware. So it is very difficult to say whether there is an increase in incidence or it is increase in the detection of the cancer of the breast. That is number one. Number two, that we have in the urban and in the rural setup. In the urban setup, there is a high incidence of the breast cancer, while in the rural section, we have got a little bit lower incidence of the breast cancer. There is an increase in the cervical cancer. So this is as far as the incidence is concerned. But the most important thing for us to make women aware is that more than 50% of the cases are detected in the advanced stage. If we diagnose the disease in the stage 1 or stage 2, the cure rate is more than 80%, while in stage 3 and stage 4, it is less than 60%. So the message for all the women in the country is that try to learn about breast cancer. Try to learn about your own breast. And now, in these days of digital health, it is very easy to know about the breast self examination and the various places where you can get your breast uh, examined at a clinical level or by mammography. So the incidence is maybe increasing a little bit because of the lifestyle, and as we are living longer, the the disease is, even though it is in the majority of cases, it is above the age of 40, and the, the life expectancy in the country has gone above 65. So there is a factor of longevity also, which leads to increase in the incidence of the breast cancer. So this is what I want to tell. In the Western world, there is a mass screening, and the number of cases detected in the first stage or the stage 0 are very high. In India, many cases that come with the lung. We don't the screening for every case by mammography is not possible. But what is possible is the self-examination of breast and the clinical examination of the breast. And in the large studies in the India by the Tata Group and others and our DCR also, that clinical examination by the medical and the paramedical also detect cancer early. So this is what I have to tell about the incidence and how it can be detected early in our country.
Thank you so
Hello.
much, sir, for this information. As we know that early
Anything else you
detection of
want?
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm sorry
Thank
if
you
I
so
have taken up somebody else. Yes. There's some
As we
problem
know
in
that
the audio quality.
Thank you so much, sir. As we know that early detection of cancer decreases mortality, unfortunately in India, with limited access to information, it leads to late detection. Now, my next question is for Mr. Sameer Desai. Sir, how corporates are helping in improving accessibility of new drugs in the field of oncology? Over to you, sir.
No, I guess we there is some. Dr. Pravleen, could you? Thank you. So thank you so much for the question, Dr. Pravleen, and thank you to Voice of Healthcare for um, organizing this very important, I would say, session for awareness. Insofar as the role of corporates go, uh, I think there are um, a couple of, I would say, major initiatives that corporates in general and certain companies in particular have, really certain role that they have played in improving access, especially to newer medications. If you see the changes in the cancer treatment scene over the past few years, I mean, when you mean corporates here, I presume you mean pharmaceutical companies that make the products available, because there are also corporate hospitals that have made access to affordable healthcare, especially for cancers, possible in the country. But speaking specifically about the pharmaceutical manufacturers and marketing companies, I think one of the largest and most important developments that has happened in improving access is the development of and launch of quality biosimilars. As we all know, targeted therapies and biologics became the mainstay of cancer care over the past decade and a half now. And access has been in the past extremely limited, despite the availability of these medications, both because of affordability as well as because of availability. Availability, when I say availability, I mean to a large extent, uh, availability of anti-cancer products was limited only to metros and class 1 cities for a long time. And affordability obviously is something that everyone understands very easily. Uh, the launch of biosimilars, quality biosimilars by the Indian manufacturers has not only brought down the cost of therapy, which is a huge, I would say, relief for most patients, because India is an out-of-pocket country, as we all know. Most of us have to fend for our healthcare costs ourselves, and cancer care can be quite expensive, even with affordable medicines. Uh, they not only made it affordable, they also made it accessible in the sense that pharmaceutical companies that are of Indian origin have had much larger, vaster distribution networks. And over the past few years, especially in the last decade or so, companies have focused significantly on improving delivery of products. Our distribution chains have strengthened. Temperature sensitive products are delivered now in a proper manner to the patients at their doorstep. And this has really made a significant impact to cancer patients' lives. So I believe corporates have played quite a significant role. In investing in developing, researching, developing, and manufacturing biological products, biosimilars, which requires huge investments on behalf of the industry. And B, doing it in a very cost-effective manner and being at par in terms of the quality, and both the quality of the products as well as the quality of care that is provided to the patients. And I think in this manner, Indian corporates have really contributed significantly. And lastly, just one sentence to add, I believe what is also very, very important is very responsible and ethical marketing. Uh, Disseminating the right kind of information and making sure that only um, the appropriate information is provided and appropriate promotions are made. And I think all of these have contributed to improving affordability and accessibility of modern care. Thank you.
Very true, sir. Very true. Even I work in a corporate sector, and I can see that there's a very less cancer literacy in the patients. Even in spite the patients are very educated with a good background, but still the stigma is still there, and literacy is very low. So my next question is to Mrs. Neerja Malik, ma'am. Ma'am, how can your personal journey and insights help the industry gear up the early detection system? Over to you, ma'am.
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I can hear myself speaking again. This is better. Great. Thank you very much for having me on this discussion and on this panel. And yes, so Prableen, that was a very good question. So before I answer anything, I would like to give you a little background of my family. And in our family, in 3 generations of cancer, we've had 40 cases, which means my dadi, dada, 2 buas, my father, 2 masis, and lots of cousins. So there is a bit of awareness, there's a lot of awareness, and somehow or the other, what happened the first time in 1998, I felt a little twinge. Now, why I'm going into this story is that anything that can affect you, and if you are aware and you are enlightened enough to pick up a little hint, it goes exactly what today's topic is: detect to protect. So, what happened on 2nd of February 1998? I felt a little twinge, जिसको कहते हैं छोटी सी चुभन. And I used to do a lot of exercises, so दिमाग से बात निकल गई. And on the 12th, 10 days later, I felt that chubban again. I felt that twinge of pain again. And I touched it. So on the 2nd, it was a little, very small kind of a protrusion. But on the 12th, 10 days later, it was much larger. And I immediately got into action. I have this feeling that we should look at the signs around us. I took that as a sign that how can something that is not tangible or palpable, to use a doctor's term, it was not palpable, in 10 days has grown to such an extent. So that is what alerted me, probably. And I immediately got in touch with the Apollo Cancer Hospital, and I went and showed myself, and went through the entire procedure of diagnosis, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and the works. That was in 98. In 2004, I normally used to sleep on my back, but in 2004, I just decided to sleep on my stomach. And when I went onto my stomach, I felt that I was uncomfortable. And so I touched my right breast this time. It was the left earlier, the right this time. And I felt the same kind of lump. And automatically the next day I got into, in fact, I woke my husband up. I said, I feel it. And he says, well, considering you've been going to the hospital counseling patients since 98 December, you might as you're going there in any case to see some patient, because I started counseling patients the same year that I was diagnosed, thanks to Bachelor of Social Work and a B.Ed degree, and working in schools as a social worker and a teacher. So he said, when you go there, just get yourself checked up, and that's what I did. So both the times that I was detected, I it was myself, and I think that made such an impact on me that last year, right through the month of October, I had a campaign inviting people to make videos of themselves taking a pledge to spread the awareness of breast cancer to at least 10 more people. And what did I give them to pass on this information? That on my channel, Nirja Malik Official YouTube channel, there is a 4 odd minute self breast examination video. And I told all these people that you take the pledge for at least making 10 people aware, and not only women, because men can also get breast cancer. And even if they don't, guess what? They need to be alerted, because their mothers, their aunts, their grannies, their sisters, their daughters, any of them should be alerted, so that they can be in control of themselves, their breasts, and their life. What does a woman do? She always puts herself on the back burner. हाँ ठीक हो जाएगा, I'll be all right, any problem. But if anything happens to a family, she zooms in. I want to make the men aware that this is a natural problem with the women, and please help the women in your lives. Go forward. After all, men have regular annual checkups. I think the women deserve regular annual checkups, especially in the month of October. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you so
can
much,
speak
ma'am.
on.
Thank you, ma'am. You are so strong and very encouraging. You're doing a very good job, ma'am. Hats off to your spirit, ma'am. Thank you so much. So my next question is to Dr. Sanjeev. As India is the biggest manufacturer of biosimilars, how do you ensure quality and efficacy of biosimilars as a good innovator molecule? Over to you, sir.
So, as we all know, that biosimilars are actually, in lay terms, a copy of innovator molecules, of which they are biosimilars. So, during the development journey of the biosimilar itself, if it is trastuzumab, then trastuzumab. During the development of trastuzumab, you ensure, as you are developing the process, both of fermentation and then later on of purification of the molecule, that your molecule is as close to the innovator as possible, so that it can later pass in clinical trials and be approved as a biosimilar. So in other words, it is the process which defines the product, both at the level of fermentation, which we call upstream, and purification, which we call downstream. So the parameters that you establish by tweaking the process, fine tuning the process, such that you get, if I can use the word, identical biosimilar to the innovator, then that becomes your process, and that is really what drives the process finally in a manufacturing plant also. Um, so how does a developer who has to continuously manufacture vast quantities of biosimilars in India continue to make a highly biosimilar innovator product, efficacious, etc.? It's by sticking to the process which was developed in R&D. And yes, it is a difficult, yes, it is an art form, but it is very doable, and that's what GMP is for, and that's how we do it. Thank you, Dr. Praveen.
Thank you, sir. So this brings me to the next round of questions. Every country has different cancer screening guidelines. Like for the cancer cervix, the guideline is almost similar for every country. But in breast cancer, we find differences in UK, US, and in Indian perspective. So my next question is to Professor Dr. Anita Ramesh ma'am. What are the cancer screening guidelines for breast cancer in Indian scenario, ma'am? Over to you, ma'am.
Part of the 5-year plan ICMR guidelines. So, as in India, it is at the above the age of 40, you need to do an yearly mammogram, which is both a digital mammogram and an ultrasound mammogram, clinical examination of the breast by a physician, and breast self examination from 40 years above. If you are still menstruating, it is on the fifth day of the period or the first week around menses. If you have stopped your menstrual, you can fix any date in a month, maybe first of every month, to do this process. Okay, breast self examination guidelines are already there in 3 positions: sitting, standing, and lying down. Look and see and feel. These are the things, and I think it's already available, all the videos, and we have also discussed. Now, next point. Now, if you have a family history of cancer and hereditary, like we heard Nirija ma'am telling, then in such a case, you have to do all of them 10 years prior to the youngest breast cancer incident. Suppose anybody in your family is diagnosed with 35 or 33, then the first generation should start their screening 10 years younger, means 23 years of age. Okay, continue with the self breast examination, do a mammogram, as well as do a physician examination. Next, regarding doing a mammogram, ultrasound mammogram is approved because of some radiation, small portion of radiation effects in a digital mammogram. So ultrasound mammogram is only approved less than 40 years of age. Another point, there is something called MRI of the breast, that is also the part of the screening. It is particular, not to be done for everybody, but it is used only in cases when you have say hereditary breast cancer and the breast is quite dense at a young age and you're not able to pick up, but there is some suspicion. Yes, MRI bilateral breast, they are dedicated machine, is also as a part of screening for breast cancer. It's an approved investigation. Or you have a doubtful lesion in a mammogram during the screening, yes, use an MRI breast. So I think these are some of the guidelines which have been laid down, almost similar, just minor difference here and there. They have differences in the age, whether 40 to 49, 49 to 59, and beyond that, whether you do. Yes, it is worth doing it in a country like India because the expenses are high, like you have heard, and it is better. Screening is much better if you pick it up at an early stage. With the treatment, survival figures are high. So yes, 40 and otherwise 25 will be a young age when you go for the pap smear. And any breast cancer with the family history, please start 10 years before the youngest breast cancer patient in your family. That's how is it like.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We all know that 5 to 10% of breast cancer are hereditary or genetic. So my question is for Dr. Jyoti Vadva, ma'am. Ma'am, what is the role of genetic testing in the breast cancer detection, and what options are available in India? Over to you, ma'am.
Your voice is
Your
not
voice
coming,
is
Dr.
not
Deepak.
coming, Dr. Deepak.
Dr. Jyoti, ma'am, you're not audible.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am is not audible. So we'll move on to Dr. Pankaj Shah. Ma'am, please.
You may try to log out and log in again, Dr. Jyoti.
Sir, so I'll move on to Dr. Pankaj Shah. Sir, what are the treatment options, surgical, radiotherapy, or chemotherapy available, and what is the expected outcome? Over to
Is
you,
a
sir.
extremely precious. All the women with breast cancer should understand that the modern treatment is a cooperative treatment. It is not a single treatment. You do surgery and forget. You do chemotherapy and forget. So it's a total treatment requires first of all a horoscope of a disease. I mean, horoscope of a disease means what is the amount of disease? That's the stage of disease. Early stage disease, late, middle stage, or a late stage disease. And second is what is the biological behavior of a disease. These two factors determine the treatment of a patient. Now, the sequence of the treatment also depend upon this horoscope. It is very early lesion and ERPR positive and HER2 negative. Then simple lumpectomy followed by radiation, chemotherapy, hormone therapy will cure the patient. And if the patient is a HER2 positive or a triple negative, even if it's a stage 2 disease, one would like to go for first chemotherapy or systemic treatment and try to completely destroy the disease in the body and then followed by the subsequent surgery. And according to the report of the post surgery histopathology, we decide the further treatment. Now, in the modern treatment, the women will like to preserve the breast, and most of the doctor also try to see that how they can preserve the breast by offering patient leukoregional breast conservative surgery or simple lumpectomy followed by various treatment. So all factors combined together, the modern treatment, surgical treatment, would be most of the time the simple lumpectomy followed by various treatment, radiation plus chemotherapy, hormone therapy, etc., etc. While major breast surgery in before 10 years, most of the women were offered radical mastectomy with axillary dissection. Nowadays, less and less number are offered this treatment. So the message to the women is, whatever your stage of a disease, the modern treatment can cure in our Indian setup also more than 55% of the cases. And those who are having early disease, they have a 5-year survival more than 80%. So don't get disheartened. The breast treatment has become more or less like Not even like diabetes or hypertension, because it is a lifelong treatment. The breast cancer treatment, if it is early, it is for a year or year and a half. And when it is a hormone positive, the adjuvant treatment may go up to 5 to 7 years. So the treatment of breast cancer, again I tell, depend on the horoscope, and whatever the horoscope, good or bad, there is always the excellent treatment for it. So don't get all the women, those who are listening to this, my message is that don't get disheartened. Excellent treatment are available with radiation therapy, with chemotherapy, local another local two form, radiation therapy and surgery. And the treatment outcome are excellent. Today in my clinic, I had a lady, wife of a journalist, who had a breast cancer. It was a triple positive, and there were nodes outside the axilla also. So I have to offer her first targeted treatment with trastuzumab and chemotherapy. That will followed after 6 cycle. Again evaluation, distance evaluation. If everything is good, continue with the local treatment if necessary, and followed by further treatment with targeted, which requires for about a year. The good point here is that those patients who are given this trastuzumab targeted treatment upfront, and if they don't get complete response, then there is a ray of hope. We can change over to TDM1, which was previously available in the country at the cost of about 1.75 lakh. And now it is only 70,000 rupees, thanks to our own manufacturer in the country. And that is only one, that is the Zydus Healthcare. So, my sisters across the country, those who are listening to this, breast cancer treatment has become the most effective treatment, whatever the stage of the disease is. The treatment is available, you have to take it regularly, and if you cannot afford it, go to the government various scheme. 5 lakhs rupees worth treatment is available. So if you don't have the avenue to your mediclaim, or you are not covered by your employee, or if you are not wealthy enough to spend the treatment 5 to 10 lakhs rupees, the government agencies are available. Go to the government hospitals, get the treatment, and cure or the best treatment is your birthright. You are the women of India, and you must get the best care in the country, and that is available nowadays. When I started my career in 73, even up to the 2005-10, I have to strive to go to the people, get the donation for adopting a breast cancer patient treatment. Those days are now the days of past. The women can get the treatment for their own tax, direct or indirect, they have given to the government. Government is going or probably giving you best back in the form of treatment. So don't get disheartened. Going to a hospital, government hospital, or those hospitals which are covered with various government schemes is not inferior. Those who can come to people like us in a corporate setup, they are most welcome. But because of the cost, don't get fear. Don't go to the hospital when it is available, because you are a woman, you are a mother, you are a sister, you are a working woman. Your saving your life is more important to the nation, and that is available nowadays. So breast cancer is even better than diabetes, arthritis, hypertension, etc., etc. Thank you very much for this, and talking to the lay people about the treatment and surgery, radiation, and this is my general message to everyone. Everyone. Everything is available. Even in hormone treatment, lots of new hormonal treatment has come. In a breast cancer chemotherapy, it is only previously CMF or AC. Now I have targeted treatment available. In the target, we have got various target available. Even the drug conjugates are available. So the science has made the life of women with breast cancer very, very clear. And nobody should afraid of having disease. Only go to the proper doctor, get the care. For South, Dr. Anita is there to take care of them. He's probably, you are probably, Anita, in this government setup, right? Yes. So she is doing a good job. Lady is concerned for the ladies. And on this Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October, my only message to the women is try to learn from the digital methodology. That is, go to the YouTube, learn how to do self-examination, go to the nearby cancer detection centers, get your examined by clinician, go to the mammography where it is available for the early stages. If you are detected, don't worry, take proper treatment and your life will be saved in more than 60% of the cases. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we know that 5 to 10% of breast cancers are hereditary. So over to Dr. Jyoti Vadva, ma'am. Once again, ma'am, what is the role of genetic testing in breast cancer detection and what all are available in India? Over to you,
Am I
ma'am.
audible now? Am I audible? Hello? Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's see what's a genetic test. So we know that a genetic test, which is usually done in form of a blood test, is done to detect changes which we call as mutations in certain genes. I'm sure the viewers have heard of genes such as BRCA1, BRCA2. There are some more like CHEK2, PTEN, etc. And presence of genetic mutations in such genes can increase one's lifetime risk of developing not only breast cancer but some other cancers also, like ovarian cancer, prostate cancer in men, etc. So it's very important to know of the status of these genetic tests, because presence of a positive test in a given subject can also affect the treatment decisions these days. So if a genetic test, say, shows that one has,
That one
let's
has,
say, BRCA mutation,
let's say,
so
Brahma.
one can then take many steps to lower one's risk of breast cancer. So such a person who has been found to have a BRCA mutation can then undergo appropriate cancer screening starting at an early age, can be prescribed medicines such as tamoxifen, can also be advised to undergo preventive surgeries like breast removal or ovarian removal, and can also then be more cautious, can adopt lifestyle changes to reduce one's chances of developing breast cancer. Also, it's very important to know that not everyone needs to undergo a genetic test. So, let me now tell you briefly as to who should undergo a genetic test for breast cancer. So, if somebody is diagnosed at a younger age with breast cancer, say in those at less than 50 years of age at diagnosis, if someone has bilateral breast cancer, a genetic test is warranted. If someone has both breast and ovarian cancer, a genetic test must be ordered. If there are one or more family members affected with breast cancer or similar cancers, then also, like Neerja ma'am was mentioning, in her family, there was history of breast cancer and some other cancers. So it becomes very important to order a genetic test. And we know that there are certain, ancestries like Ashkenazi Jews, in whom breast cancer, these mutations have high prevalence. So all these populations need to undergo a genetic test for breast cancer. And they can then help us a lot in risk reduction, in treatment decisions, and adopting the healthy lifestyles. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Counseling is an integral part of any treatment. A good counseling from the doctor can change the outlook of life in patient. So my next question is for Mrs. Nirja Malik, ma'am. How are you empowering the cancer patient throughout the process and what impact counseling can have on patient in this tough journey. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes. So, what happened in my life when I was diagnosed, I was very lucky. I had the full support of my parents, my in laws, my sister's family, and everyone. And I realized that I kind of sailed through it because before going to for a surgery, my father or a chemotherapy or radiation, my father would just put his hand on my head and say a mantra. My mother, my sister, my sisters-in-laws, they were all there with me, taking turns to ensure that I was comfortable. Now, with this background of social work and education, someone came to meet me when I had just finished my surgery and I was in bed. She came home and I said, "What do you do? Like, how come you've come to meet me?" So she said, "Well, your doctor told me to come." And I said, "Okay." And she said that I run a cancer support group. Now, while I was in bed, I got so excited with this concept because this is what I thought that when I go to Chennai, my treatment was done in Bombay because my entire family was there. I just had 7-year-old twins and my husband in Chennai, which is where I live. So let me tell you, I got very excited. I said, I'm going to go back to Chennai. I'm going to start a cancer support group, which I did in 2004 at the Apollo Cancer Hospital. Uh, why? Because I felt I had the skills, I had the necessary empathy, I had the experience. And the main thing is that when you go to a cancer patient and you tell that person, hey, be positive, the person says, do you understand what I'm going through? Do you know what I'm going through? And all I have to say, yes, I do. I've been through what you're going through. I know what you're going through, your family is going through, your friends are going through, and I definitely know how it feels for a surgery, different chemotherapies, and radiations too. So, what happens here is that the patient may be forced to come to me just wanting to curl up and die, but his parents or her parents have dragged. And I just speak, I just start talking. And suddenly, from resentment and resistance, I can see within 10-15 minutes that the patient is actually wanting to hear more. And by the time I'm done with my session, I have convinced the patient that he or she is going to be perfectly all right. Look at me. I was fourth stage. I was told by doctors 23 years back that you have 25% chances of survival, not in India. You have to go to America or France because they had just started stem cell research. And I wept for 3 days. I wept, not because I was scared, but because my twins were only 7. And on the third day, enlightenment dawned. Now, why I'm saying all this is that this is what I have learned helped me to help patients. Enlightenment dawned, and I said, was it God who came down and said, now you better start counting your days, numbering your days backwards. Then thought, enough is enough. Wagged his finger and said, you're gonna die. No, it was only a human being. Now, that doesn't take away my trust and faith in doctors because I feel doc is God, God is doc. And whatever the doctor says to me, I will do, have done. And you can see me 23 years later. But what did I learn? I learned that in India, the treatment is phenomenal because I refuse to go abroad. And I learned that there is hope, that you must have a goal to live for. I decided when I wiped my tears that my goal is going to be I'm going to live for my twins. My twins are now 31. I've gone through it twice. And the joy I get in managing to change a person's viewpoint when they are suffering through it and they see me larger than life, saying that if I can do it, what is the ace up my sleeve? If I can do it, so can you. So that assurance starts when a patient meets me. And the few points I just want to say here that I start with telling them that think of cancer as only a word, nothing more, nothing less. It's just a word. When I talk about the fan or the AC or a glass or a table or a cell phone, do I break into sweat? No. But the horrendous tales that we hear about, this one went through cancer, that one went through, ye hua, wo hua. But listen to me. Why don't we make movies where cancer patients survive, exist, go on? Why do they have to sing sad songs and suffer and anand? I love those movies, by the way. And then pass away. We can do it. We're doing it. And I just want to tell you think of the word cancer as only a word. Think of your treatment, whether it was 6 months or 2 years or even maintenance dose in cancer. Just think of it as a bend, not an end. Think of it as a detour to be exactly where you were going to be, where you planned to be, with a bypass, nothing else. And the last thing that I advocate is laughter is the best medicine. So laugh your way through the treatment. And if I can do it, so can you. That is how I help. And I tell them I am available 24/7. When the Department of State, USA, invited me for a 21-day tour of America in 6 cities, and they were speaking about, the patient navigator, the social worker, the liaison officer, the this, the that, the other. I just asked them one question. I said, "Excuse me, who is your go-to after hours?" And they said, 1800. And I said, "Guess what? I am the patient navigator, the social worker, the liaison officer, and I am the go to person because I've told my patients I'm available 24/7. Because at night, when your family is asleep, all the sad, bad, miserable thoughts come into your brain like worms. And I tell my patients, just give me a call. And whether I speak to you for 2 minutes, or for 20 minutes, or for 2 hours, you will be able to be at peace, and I will be at peace knowing that I have helped in some small way. So I hope that there are many more like me who are out there just to help in whatever way, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, intellectually, just with a hug, a touch, a smile. That's all we need. Thank you so much.
Rightly said, ma'am. Smile heals all the biggest of all the diseases. True, ma'am. So my next question is for Dr. Sanjeev. Sir, how government can intervene in encouraging pharmaceutical companies for drug discovery and research work? Over to you, sir.
I think
I think
actually
actually
government has done.
government has done.
I'm getting an echo. I think government has done a fabulous job so far in supporting biosimilar development in the country, and that is the sole reason why India today has the widest access and the cheapest biosimilars available to people who almost always have to pay out of the pocket. Uh, Now, where do we go from here? Of course, biosimilars would always need that support. And as we all know, if you ask a patient or if you ask a doctor, they would say, any new drug, why not tomorrow? So that's the support pharma companies, biotech companies would need from the government to save every single day in the regulatory process. Also, going forward, as India is becoming a biologics development and manufacturing engine, it is important that India also moves forward on research and discovery of new drugs, uh, which I am very confident that Indian scientists, Indian companies are capable of. Again, what we need is support of the government in speeding up the process because it is expensive, so speed will help. It is important to know when a drug is not working faster rather than slower manner so that you waste less money and switch to another drug. So those are the things really. Help from the government mainly in the form of speed. Maybe companies would like to continue to have tax advantages, at least on the R&D portion of expenses that they have. Yes, those would be the things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So my next question is to Mr. Sameer Desai, sir. How pharmaceutical firms can help in benefiting patients beyond just medicines?
Thank you, Dr. for that question. And I would go back to something that both Ms. Malik and Dr. Pankaj Shah both referred to during their responses. I think digital is a fantastic opportunity for us to connect more intimately, more frequently, and more meaningfully with the patients. Um, One of the, I would say, significant support networks that cancer patients deserve to have and sometimes do have access to is the survivors network. Beyond the network of doctors, hospitals, carers, caregivers, counselors, you also need a survivors network of people who have been through the same struggle, who have fought the same valiant fight and have conquered the disease and have encouraging words, gratifying experiences to share. I believe pharmaceutical companies can play a significant role in improving access to such networks. They can play a significant role in helping patients connect with hospitals and doctors. Because despite all the efforts that everyone is putting, be it private industry or be it the government, cancer care still is concentrated in a few centers across the country. It is spreading, undoubtedly, but it is still, considering the length and breadth of our country and the number of people that live within, I believe there is an opportunity for improving access. Now, access cannot always just be improved through physical infrastructure. Today, distance has actually been killed, and I believe the pandemic has actually helped us, speed up, expedite our adoption of digital technologies. Uh, by creating right kind of platforms and right kind of networks, we could make sure that people are able to access good quality care, despite living in smaller villages or distant towns and cities where top quality care may not necessarily be available. Secondly, I think pharmaceutical companies have already been doing this, providing benefits beyond the pill, as we say, where we start looking at our role not as someone who provides medicines, but someone who helps patients regain a healthy status. And these are completely different perspectives, because just supplying medicine is a commercial transaction. But when you become intimately involved in patient care alongside their doctors, obviously, is when you are able to actually participate in their recovery process, is help them with better diagnostics, access to better diagnostics, help them create opportunities to interact with their doctors in a seamless manner. Digital platforms are getting created which help them communicate their health related issues without necessarily having to travel and see the doctor. It also improves the time management for the doctors because they are able to remotely manage some of the patients who necessarily each time don't have to visit them in person. And lastly, I think one of the significant opportunities that lies, um, especially in the area of cancer care, is the education and sensitization of families and caregivers. Uh, as Malik was referring to, you know, treating cancer just as a word and not really as a dreaded entity as we all have come to do. But it's not just for the sufferer, not just for the patient. It is extremely important that their entire support system, especially the one that they get at home, because that's where we spend most of our times, um, their sensitization, their education, their ability to help the patient through this struggle is equally important. And I think that's another very important area where pharmaceutical companies can certainly bring in some level of expertise. Some resources can be deployed to make sure that we don't just look at our roles as those who manufacture and sell medicines, but as those who provide healthcare solutions and ultimately care for health rather than just treating disease. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everyone, for this very enlightening discussion. Just quickly, take home message from all the speakers for our very patient listeners. Any take home message, sir?
Only one
So can I?
message.
Okay.
Oh, ladies first. Jyoti, you first.
So I just want to sum up my message to all the women out there and also the men. I would sum it up as A, B, C, D, E. So A for awareness, everyone needs to be breast aware. B for breastfeeding. So breastfeed your newborn for at least 1 year and longer if possible. C for cancer screening. So do visit a doctor and undergo appropriate cancer screening at regular intervals. D for diet. Take a healthy diet. And E for exercise. Stay active in whichever form, whatever little exercise you could undertake, do take that and stay positive and optimistic. We have treatment for all these stages of cancer and very effective treatments. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this endeavor.
And
Over
for
to you,
me,
sir.
it is F.
Yes.
Be fearless. Don't afraid of cancer. It's a part of the life story. We are all human beings. God has created a machine and it has to have some problem, manufacturing defect or something, but they are all corrected. So E, A, B, C, D, E, and F is be fearless. Thank you.
I would just like to say something here. So, when I was diagnosed, I ran to my father and I said, Papa, I'm going to fight cancer. And this gentleman who's got a mention in dispatches in the 1971 war, captain of his ship in the Indian Navy, etc., turned to me and he said something that I will never forget and I pass it on to everyone. He said, Beta, why are you using the word fight? Fight is aggressive. Fight is angry. Fight is negative. Why don't you just say? And I was shocked. I thought my father, the warrior, the soldier, I was stunned. And he said, why don't you use the word face? Hum honge kamyab. We will overcome. And every patient that I meet, I say this. And if anyone says, let us face cancer, not fight it. These are the words of my father spoken to me 23 years back. And I think that it has been etched so strongly in my mind because I spread that. Let us not fight it. Let us face it. This too shall pass. You are equipped. Take one day at a time. And more than anything else, I would like to just say a little story here. In 81, we were living in London, and my husband was traveling to America. I went along, and my two cousins and I put everyone to sleep, and we sat on the staircase talking till 4 in the morning. And then I said, must have been me, I said, I wonder who next. This was December of 81. I was diagnosed Friday the 13th February 98. My older Bhua's daughter, who was there, was diagnosed in June of 2001. My younger Bhua's daughter, who was there, was diagnosed in 2008 October. Now, what had we done? We had kept it into the universe. Ah, bell, mujhe maar. I tell my patients, don't invite it. Be careful of your words. Be positive. My blood group is A, be positive. And just remember that, as one of you said, it is our birthright to be happy and healthy. And if I'm made in the image of God, then my health is perfect and I'm a wonderful, divine human being. And with those words, I will just say that the divinity in me bows down to the divinity in all of you. And thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much, everyone, for this power packed discussion. I would like to thank Voice of Healthcare for being successful in spreading some awareness and reaching the remote corners of our country. Let's keep such discussions going on and help public learn about this importance of early detection. As the slogan goes, early detect to protect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you and stay
Thank you
safe.
and stay safe.